This
Is
is,
it, oh,
go ahead, Joe.
this is Joselia speaking. I'm a Black woman wearing like seafoam green glasses, and I have short dreadlocks. I'm wearing a seafoam green shirt and my background is blurred. I'm a writer, an editor, an artist. I have sickle cell disease. I'm neurodivergent, and I also identify as MAD. I come to disability studies and disability artistry as a disabled person. I come to it as a person who likes to engage in intellectual thought about the conditions that we're living in. And I'm really happy to be here with you. Kayla.
This is Kayla speaking. I am a milk chocolate, skin toned Black woman wearing a black shirt. My hair is in twist. If you're unfamiliar with twist, the hair is separated into two strands and they are twisted around each other. They are slightly below shoulder length. I wear wide framed blue glasses. Did I say my pronouns? Pronouns, she, her, hers. Also a disabled dancer, choreographer, thinker, mover, and teacher. I have uveitis, which is inflammation of the eye, and secondary severe glaucoma. And I see monocularly out of one eye. I come here, well, I guess my entry point was really more of a felt sense of a lived experience, and then learning more through, with, and for communities. Yeah, and I'm always happy to be with you, Joe. Yeah. So what does intersectionality mean to us? How do we define it?
I'll start. This is Joe speaking. I have to start with Kimberly Crenshaw's definition. She's the one who created the analytical frame, but the analytical frame work only reflects the lives that had already been living it. And it is just to say that, like, we do not live single issue lives, and the ways that our conditions, both how our conditions of being alive are impacted by the societies that we live in, and the many ways in which we can perceive an event due to the conditions that we are subjected to. So that's how I would define it. How do you define it, Kayla?
Yeah, this is Kayla speaking. I mean, a simplified, or maybe it's not simplified. Another way that I think about it is bringing all parts of yourself into the mix, and being with them, feeling them, stepping away from them, stepping really close to them, noticing how they engage with each other, how they don't engage with each other, how they engage with other people, how they engage with like different relationships that we have as we move through the world. And I was thinking right before, like, I turned on my camera, that I was like, oh, this feeling, this like butterfly feeling that I have in like public, like conversations is like let me name the intersectionality of like my experience of like my identity is in terms of how I feel in relationship to like speaking in public and the perceptions of being smart or not smart or capable of speaking about something and not being capable of speaking about something. So like doing, even turning on the camera, I was like, oh, let me bring that in
Right.
to this space and like period in thought. Yeah.
Yeah. There's something about the way that like intersectionality can be deeply abstracted and
Yes.
um and taken away from like a sensorial experience. I mean, I think that fundamentally, like, I'm thinking of one of the questions that's here, the one that says, what advice would you give someone who feels well versed in intersectionality themselves, but is struggling to get their boss, board of directors, or community to buy in? And I'm not so sure that like it's about buying into something as much as it is just like ensuring one's survival. Like, we live at different places at different times that collide. And I don't know, like, I think that to be intersectional is to practice it, right? How does your life look? If your life doesn't look that way, if your life doesn't take into consideration race and class and gender and sex and nation and citizenship and you know, I don't really know if one can be, if being well versed even matters at that point.
Yeah, this is Kayla. I believe you just said this because it's not about being well versed. It's about being about the we and not the me, right?
Yes.
And listening and understanding. And if someone is not yet quite open to that, then they will never quote unquote buy in.
Right. And to be,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt.
Oh,
I also want to say about the me in the we and how they operate together,
for
right?
sure. Yep.
They're interlaced.
But there's no we without me, right?
Right.
Right.
There's no me without us or
Mhm.
we. Hmm. I'm also thinking about, sorry. Sorry.
Go, do it, do it.
Sorry. I'm thinking about class. I'm thinking about how class articulates itself in disability art spaces. I'm thinking about how class articulates itself through how accessibility can operate. I don't really know where I'm going with this thought. I'm just thinking about class.
Yeah, this is Kayla. There was another question. Um, yeah, what are common challenges around intersectionality that you see in the field?
Yes.
What advice would you give to folks working through these challenges? To go, and I say this as I continue to analyze the ways in which I am, that I can show up in the world as a disabled Black person, that oftentimes I feel there's like a constant interrogation of how we be,
Yes.
how we got to where we be right now. And really the people the education, right? Like in tracking, kind of trying to track the class,
Yeah.
right? And maybe I don't know where I'm quite going, but I guess there's something about if you are quote unquote like well versed or a member of a board. Yeah, I just think there's something about like tracking where you, how you got to where you are, wherever that may be, right? And I'm not talking about anyway, how you got to where you are, who was there, right? Like just really it's the analysis, right?
Right.
And then once you figure that out, how you gonna help yourself and somebody else?
It's the transparent. I think something that I'm thinking about is the transparency to the analysis. Like,
Well,
I'm thinking about like class aspiration, class allegiance. I'm thinking about solidarity. Like, when do your aspirations start to forget people who are like classed a certain way? And especially when it comes to disability, like elitism and disability can't go hand in hand.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Elitism and disability cannot go hand in hand. By the virtue of the fact that like if we are thinking about a radically disabled space, capability is not something that comes up for question of debit or credit. It's a completely different economy, if that. And like I'm thinking about the systemic impoverishment of disabled people due to SSI requirements, due to government pressures that leave people impoverished. And I'm thinking about how to interrogate disability artistry is to also interrogate the ways that class can manifest itself and how we're classed out oftentimes. I mean, I'm also thinking that like about the question that says like, what are some common challenges? And it's like some common challenges to intersectionality are like imperialism, like capitalism, anti-blackness, misogynoir, transphobia, like those.
Phobia. Sorry, I know we're talking over each other. It's so okay.
But continue, like all of these systems of oppression.
Which brings me to T.L. Lewis's definition of ableism. I'm gonna bring it up because I think it may be worth reading. This is Kayla speaking. This is Talia A. Lewis, definition of ableism. A system of assigning value to people's bodies and minds based on societal constructed ideas of normalcy, productivity, desirability, intelligence, excellence, and fitness. These constructed ideas are deeply rooted in eugenics, anti-Blackness, misogyny, colonialism, imperialism, and capitalism. This systemic oppression leads to people in society determining people's value based on their culture, age, language, appearance, religion, birth of living place, health/wellness, and/or their ability to satisfactorily reproduce, excel, and behave. Period. This was January 2022 updated definition, which kind of really speaks to exactly what you just said.
Yeah. And also the other line in the definition that says you do not have to be disabled to experience
Yes.
ethos
Oh, mhm.
is extremely important, in the same way that like in the question that asks like how to address their boss, like the boss has to understand that they too are in a system.
Right.
And like you have to, and I don't know how you can convince someone to understand that they're in a system if the system is benefiting them in ways that they are uncritical, that they cannot be critical about.
This is Kayla, and this is where I feel like being in the practice of becomes important. Because sometimes if we say in like theory, and not come back to the body, it's sometimes or can be harder to surface.
Yeah, like I would say that being disabled is an embodiment practice.
This is Kayla. I'm not speaking necessarily for disabled folks.
Yes.
Thinking
Yeah.
for non-disabled folks who may not know, but feel like maybe reading something is going to be right. It's too, like it's like proximity, but let me get, yeah, I feel like there's just something about that tracking and going back to the self into the body that can help someone really uproot to get them closer to where to a place of just being.
I feel a tension there, and I'm trying to like name it.
I guess this is Kayla. I'm thinking like of like the mirror, right? Like how to bring it back to oneself to be able to analyze. Because I don't think sometimes folks even is there like not a practice already of the body and
Right.
of talking, right? Is what
Right.
I'm, does that make sense?
It does make sense. I think I'm just getting lost in our conversation. Like I'm like thinking a lot of different thoughts at the same time.
Word,
Uh,
word. Let's clear it out. Excuse me.
um yeah. I'm thinking about I guess I'm thinking about the perniciousness of things like misogynoir and anti-blackness and colorism, and how these systems of oppression work together to make our decisions or influence our decisions.
This is Kayla. Literacy moment. What is the word you use? And can you
Pernicious.
define it? Huh?
Pernicious.
Can you define it?
Yes. Pernicious as in like dangerous or
Got it. Okay.
um yeah, like I keep coming back to like thinking about anti-blackness and misogynoir to transphobia to like all of these enemies of what intersectionality seeks to liberate. I see, I feel like I see all kinds of systems of oppression operate within disability space, but sometimes they are not criticized due to disability standing as the head. I don't know if that makes sense. If you get what I mean.
This is Kayla. Uh, yes. Yeah, yeah, I do.
Like I'm thinking about like the distribution of resources and how sometimes they follow those lines.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is Kayla, but and like it does in
Yes.
other marginalized like groups of people, right? That's what
Right.
like white supremacy does. That's its job.
Mhm.
Yeah, I hear you. And how uniquely disability can position itself to like break it down
Right.
if we chose to,
If you
as
choose.
a collective.
Right.
Yeah. Right. It is, yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 There's lots of space to do so. But knowing, then it makes me think about uh like just a question, and not I feel very clear, but like what are people are gaining or what are people losing
Mm-hmm.
um inside of that resistance against um essentially like white supremacy inside of disability space. Like what one needs to let go of, what does one need to like hold on to,
Mm-hmm.
what needs to, what is, acceptance of this and letting go of this. And I think, conversation, like honest, more like more open, challenging conversations could be had. Um, just to even like discuss intersectionality. Um, inside of community. And I wouldn't say that just specifically like to disability community. I feel like in a lot of communities
Right.
of people, like it's not an isolated disability arts or yeah. Specific.
What do you think about disability justice? What do you have to say about it?
Um, I can say a lot of things. This is Kayla. Um, I mean, really at the top, it is a term that I don't often use myself.
Mhm.
Um, there's something about it that I feel like I need a nod or a shoulder or a wink or a wiggle nose to say like, all right, Kayla, you can use this term. I don't know, there is yeah, it's something that I don't use loosely, although I do sometimes I feel like inside of like my practice, I
Mhm.
feel like I am aligning myself to DJ principles
Mhm.
and how I desire like to live my life as like an individual person, not just in my art making practice.
Mhm.
Um, from what I do know, I personally want predominantly like BIPOC in Black spaces to get into it.
Mhm.
Um, or learn more, right? I feel like it a broader reach amongst not university spaces is where I would like to see it grow or feel it grow.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Why do you ask?
I was just curious.
Mhm. What are your thoughts?
I too do not use DJ loosely or to describe myself.
Mhm.
I think about it as an ethos. I think
Mhm.
about it as a practice. I think about it as like ritualistic
Mhm.
in the sense that it gives shape to a day and it gives shape to how you can perceive and experience. Um, I worry sometimes about the way that particular language is being appropriated and defanged of its radicality through
Mhm.
the appropriation. I think that DJ is it's a radical conceit. And you're correct that like it does need to be in the hands of those who can activate it further.
Mhm.
It worries me that like sometimes DJ is used for moral posturing, for as a test of supposed moral superiority or purity. But that can happen with a lot of things.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I mean, I'm just talking about DJ specifically, so
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, this is Kayla. Yeah, it's definitely like I nod my head like it really like was with me when you said like a practice.
Mhm.
Um, and that it requires me to like slow down and speed up to listen and to talk, like to really be present
Mhm.
when I'm in space with others. And I think there's just so um like yes, the radicality, but so much space for like learning and growth and being with the people who are in the room,
Yes.
which I think I know for me is it to be with the folks in the room and to be with them, how to be with them,
Mhm.
how not to be with them, how to care, how to for myself and for them, right? I feel like there's just a lot of learning because if I'm taking what I know of DJ with me where I go, that every space is going to provide a new and different opportunity for me to learn and be better for myself and for other people.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm in. I want to be better for myself and for other people. Not
Agreed.
better. I don't know. Maybe better wasn't the right word, but I want to show up for myself and for other people in the ways in which they want me to show up for in that particular moment. Which makes me like nimble and listening, and I don't know, I'm just like doing some snakes in my torso, if that's a word.
I think we should end there.
Oh, okay.